one of the guys that we're speaking about right now, his wife actually said to him, look, I felt more secure with you when we had nothing. And the reason why she felt more secure with him when they had nothing was because although they had nothing financially, she had everything emotionally and physically.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, what's going on, brother?
I am very well indeed. Life is good. Life is good.
Thank you guys listening for the feedback and for the men's wives who are reaching out to us. So if you think your wife isn't listening, you might want to think again. So today, Tim, speaking of wives, I want to talk about something that's come up before. And the topic for today is my business or my marriage.
Yeah. I was speaking to one of the guys at the Alpha Reset that's just been in New Hampshire. And, he came into the program after having done a lot of personal development, and he thought, and we see this often, don't we, Doug? I mean, you and I were there a long time ago as well. But we see it often where guys come into the program thinking that the problem is, or the problem they're experiencing in their life is centered around the business. Because the business is the symptom, i.e. they are working long hours, i.e. they are stressed, whatever the symptom is, they think that then in order to solve the problem and achieve more work-life balance and be happier and more fulfilled and less stressed and be in better shape, then they must tackle it by going into business. And I was speaking to this particular man on the first night, on the Thursday, and you know what that night's like, very chilled out, very informal. It's really getting to meet one another face to face and have some amazing conversations like this when I was having with him. And yeah, he got to the point in his life where he thought literally, 3 weeks before joining the program, he thought that he was going to have to choose between his business or his wife. Now imagine the dilemma that he is in, because he loves his business. He's poured his heart and soul into it for the past few years, but also loves his wife, of course, too. He dearly loves her, but he felt completely torn. And I can remember that actual first day of work on the Alpha Reset, the floodgates opened for him, didn't he? He just broke down in tears. All the stuff that he'd been holding on to, the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, the shame, the guilt, the sadness, the anger, everything that he was doing his best to contain just erupted. And it all came out. And he was gobsmacked, wasn't he? He said, wow, I just didn't think I was going to be even sharing anything like this. I've come here for business strategy. Yeah. And we'd not even touched anything on business. But in the process of him completely choosing to actually go into the root cause of this, it completely changed things for him. And luckily for him, he'd reached this point a few weeks into the activation method as well. You know what it's like. As guys come in, they have different, there are certain points in time where they continue to have more and more realizations. And luckily, the first one for him came very early on within the activation method, which is the lead into the Alpha Reset. And as a result, he started to make changes immediately within his marriage. And immediately, business started to become easier. Immediately was a lot happier with his wife and within himself as well. So then the Alpha Reset became a real catalyst for him. But that conversation I was having with him on the first night just absolutely touched me to the core. To just communicate eye to eye, face to face, heart to heart with another man who clearly is him, he's a great guy. He's not a dick. He's not selfish. He's not all these things that other people may have perceived him to be. He's a really nice, loving guy that just wants the best for himself, the best for his family, the best for his staff. And yeah, he may have gone a little bit off track, but to see him opening up on that first night, it really, really touched me. It really did. And it's a story that we hear so often, isn't it? Another guy that was at the Alpha Reset as well. I remember him on the first stage. Tim, just give me the strategy. Just tell me what to do. And I'm like, whoa, we'll just chill. We're going to get there, but it isn't about me telling you what to do. This isn't about you working harder, because for him, he came into the program after yet another failed relationship because he believed that in order to be the man that he thought he needed to be in a relationship, that meant having a big, successful, quote unquote, business. As a result, he struggled to balance that kind of flow within his life, and relationships always were sacrificed as a result. And again, for him, he wanted the tactic, he wanted the strategy, he wanted us to give him, let's say, a list of things. Hey, go do this, this, and this. Because he's an action taker, he'll go and do it. But for all these guys, it wasn't about them working harder at all. It was all about these guys working smarter. And what I mean by that is surrendering. It was all about surrendering to the reality of how they feel and what's going on within them and what has been causing them to drive so hard to the point where they're literally thinking, is my marriage or my business?
And guys, listening to this, you could see this post-interview of at least one of the men that Tim's mentioning in the Activation Method group that we have. Absolutely phenomenal. I was laughing, Tim, when he told me, I didn't know this previously coming in to the Alpha Reset, that, what his story was. But I do remember him at the end saying, I had no intention of talking about anything personal. And, what so many of the men, forget about is they're business leaders. You always talk about them being at the top of the tree. I think of it as top of the food chain, so to speak. They're leaders in their community and their business and their families. And this man, a leader in his church. So, he thought, hey, I'll come here for business and it'll all be good. And the thing is, you got to raise the bar as the leader, the mental state, right? And continue to raise your own mindset. That's how you grow your business first and foremost. Obviously, we went over tactics later, as you know. But for him, when you think of, it's either my business or my marriage. And the reason I think this comes up so often for us men, and certainly it has for me in my past, more relationships rather, before I was married. But it's because we know business, we can control business, and we get significance from business. And that's especially true, or we turn to it especially when we're not getting it at home. And I suspect that was happening for many of the men. I know it's happening for many of the men that are listening to this now because of the feedback that we get. And instead of it being an or situation, what if we flip that and take that word or and replace it with the word and? How does your life change if it's your marriage and your business instead of your marriage or your business? What mind shifts get to happen there? And that's what's so amazing at the Alpha Reset, is to see these things happen. And I'm laughing because I'm actually thinking about what you said about the other gentleman. I know we're not trying to use people's names here, but he was so frustrated because he's like, look, just give me the answers. Tell me, give me the cheat sheet so I can get out of here and get to work. Because he already bought in. He'd already done 8 weeks of work with us. And so he trusted our process and it worked for him. But the truth is, you have to have the experience and those mindset shifts in order to see the other side.
Completely. And one of the telling points as well for this, and I love what you're saying, Doug, about and, because the common pattern that we see with 99.9% of the men that come through the program is, they've all got good hearts. They're all amazing men. I firmly see that and believe that and feel it from them as well. And they've just got a little bit off track. And what they've done is they've thought that they have needed to be a certain type of provider for the woman in their life. And what they have then done is they've thought that the way to provide is through financial means. Yet one of the guys that we're speaking about right now, his wife actually said to him, look, I felt more secure with you when we had nothing. And the reason why she felt more secure with him when they had nothing was because although they had nothing financially, she had everything emotionally and physically. I'm sure he was there for her. He was present. He was available. She felt secure. She felt she could trust him. Although they may not have had any money, she wasn't concerned about that because the man that she married is there beside her, and that's all she needs to feel safe and secure. She believes in his ability to go and make money. He'd just been laid off from a very high-paying job, and that's when everything, his whole world turned around. This was before he started his business, but at that point, they had nothing. There was a period in time where they had nothing, and I found it very, very telling for her to then respond how she did, and because he thought, well, shit, I've got to get to work. I've got to produce financially within the business. Obviously, there is a requirement there. He's got a son and a wife, so yeah, obviously they get to be taken care of, and they get to be taken care of physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Not just financially, but for whatever belief that was going on in his mind at that time, whatever it meant to provide in his mind at that time, it was more around the financial aspect. So he went to work, got busy, and then 3-4 years down the line, we end up in the activation method because his marriage is crumbling. But all the time, he's thinking, well, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm providing. You've got the money. You've got the security. We're doing well. We're going to be, hitting $1 million in a few months. What I'm doing wrong? Which then creates the confusion and the stress within him, because he then feels like his efforts aren't accepted, or his efforts aren't acknowledged, better word. And at the same time, his wife then feels very isolated and distant because he's pouring a lot of his emotional energy into his business. So there's this big disconnect that's going on that often they don't speak about. And the big shift for him came when he realized what was going on here, when he realized what was playing out, and he stopped trying to be in control of every detail within his business, because that's, again, what we often find, isn't it? As leaders within their business, most of the men are business operators and not owners. Although they own the business, they'll very much be operating within it as well, because they've not yet discovered that side of themselves that can really truly lead. And as a result, they're still in fear, they're still in anxiety. So they want to keep hold of everything, and they don't delegate as well as they could, and they're more short-tempered, and they have less patience, and so on and so on. Point being is, when he's in that place, that then means that he's trying to keep hold of every detail of his business in his head. So no wonder why he takes it home on an evening. So for him, early on in the activation method, how can I have my business and my marriage? Well, the first step is so that you get to realize what's driving your behavior. And for him, there were two things. One, that fear, the fear of not being good enough, basically, the fear of being a failure, using business as a vehicle for significance. But then also to realize what the woman in your life actually wants. Because a theme that we see again, time and time again, is that the men often go about building their dream, and they tell themselves that they are building our dream. I'm doing this for us, the wife, the family, themselves. But in reality, they're not. They are in some respects, but they're really doing it for themselves, and that's okay. But if you were to ask, let's remove but, Doug, and if you were to ask, language is important, and if you were to ask the wife, what their dream is, I'm sure it wouldn't include them not being there and being present. I'm sure the wife would, I don't even know whether the wife would really talk that much about finances. I bet the woman would be more likely to talk about experiences and feelings and connection and memories and, everything around the man being present and being there. But as men, we then want to go to the other side and produce and, be the hunter, effectively, which again is fine. I love that. And there's a balance between the two. So for him, the big shift came when he realized what was driving his behavior, and he was able to have the conversation with his wife about what she actually wanted. And that's when he realized that he wasn't building their dream, he was building his dream.
Hey guys, I had to interrupt this show because I want to talk to you about a case study we put together. It's only 11 minutes, and what we do is we go over and show you how almost 300 men have taken control of their life, have already 4x their business revenue, and are having more connected and intimate sex with their partner using the activation method. Now, they're doing all this without burning down their relationships and without suffering and sacrificing for their health. We want you to have this too, so go over to thepowerfulman.com/11, the number 11, and get this right now. It's only 11 minutes, and it's going to show you exactly how these men have done it. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, it's such a realization for these guys when we're going through it as men in general. As business owners, we turn to, hey, look, how can I build this to be bigger? Therefore, provide for my family. And therefore, I'll get the love, respect, and acknowledgement that I feel I deserve as a man, right? As a provider. And this doesn't go for all guys, right? Just the guys that we happen to attract through the Powerful Man tend to be business owners or C-suite level, executives, in the mid 6-7 figure level. And so these guys, because of the fact they've gotten to this level, they tend to be more alpha type guys that, they're not the beat your chest guys, but they're above and beyond that. They've already evolved past that stage, so to speak. And the reason I bring this up for the guys listening, Tim, is, when we're going out there and we're achieving, we're going out there to go hunt for our family, which is something that's very respectable. We want to know why we're doing it. And we also get to remember to check in with our family to make sure that everybody's still on board with the plan. I know I've been guilty of this in the past. I'm notorious for it. So I actually have reminders to remind myself, but I come up with a plan of execution and things that I want to do. My family's bought into it. And then I just get to work and get stuff done, right? And that plan may be a 2-year plan. And I don't feel the need to revisit it with people unless something's changed. And so I put on the assumption that everybody else is still on board. And over the years, I've learned that it's time to check back in and really make sure. Because when you look at the conversation at hand, right? Marriage or business, right? Which a lot of us men have, married men anyway. And for those that aren't married, it's business or my current relationship probably. But in any event, we want to look at this in the and solution. And the and is really inclusive. So how do we include not only our staff and everybody else moving forward, but our partners? How do we include and make sure that the dreams that we have are still the same dreams that are holding true from the person that we had this committed relationship with, this person that we married, often many years ago. And they've changed, they've evolved, and new surroundings have happened. And so for the men listening to this, when you think about, if you're in that state of, is it my business or my marriage? One is, are you hiding? Are you hiding in your business because things at home aren't working out well, right? And if the answer is yes, and be honest with yourself, then it's time to be a man and step into your marriage, right? Solve those issues first. And by solving those issues, your business will grow. Now, if you're still in that conversation, you're saying, look, I'm not avoiding my home life, but I'm still debating if it's my marriage or my business. Something else, a greater problem is happening here. One is you may not be honest with yourself, but two, something else is happening in your marriage where you're not putting it first, right? There's something else going on there. You're not getting something as a man, as an individual, that you need. You're not being fulfilled, and therefore that's why you're having the debate of my marriage or my business. Because if you're getting your needs met in your marriage, the question would be my marriage first, and how do I grow my business, right? So I see this a lot with the men coming through. Again, like you said, they come in for the business knowledge that we give, and we do give it, right? This man, his business is 7 figures now at this point, and he just moved on to the Brotherhood, which is our next level after the activation method and Alpha Reset. It's only for graduates that are invited in. And he's moved on to that next level, and we've already dove into his business, but we've also made some tweaks to things he can do in his marriage. And it's so amazing to see him, going in this parallel direction, Tim, where he's working on his business, but he's also saying, hey, look, guys, my marriage is better than it's ever been while he's scaling his company at the same time. So marriage or business, but what about a paradigm shift? Marriage and business. And that's where the sweet spot really lies to me, Tim.
I love it. I love it. And, final thing from me, you reminded me of something. It's something you and Erin do and Amelia and I do, but with less structure to other people. But having a weekly admin meeting, if you will, or bi-weekly or monthly or whatever it is. And so let me just set the scene here. One of the men that was in the Brotherhood, he set something up within his marriage whereby once a week it was for them. I think it was every Monday. He would cook dinner for his wife. After they put the kids to bed, he'd cook dinner for his wife. They'd have a glass of wine and they'd sit down and they'd go through all of the admin that they had to do for their life together, basically. So they'd talk about anything that was coming up with the kids, deal with that, square that away. Talk about anything that was to do with the running of the household, deal with that, square that away. Then they'd talk about anything to do with, their plans for the year and how the goals were progressing and how they were doing individually within their own respective careers, and celebrate the wins and also deal with anything there and square that away. So although weekly admin meeting sounds very monotonous and boring, if you will, the context in which you actually conduct it or can conduct it, this guy in particular, glass of wine, cooked his wife dinner, she sat down, she put her feet up, she's all relaxed. So I'm sure they had some music playing as well in the background. So the environment was very warm, very relaxing, quite a seductive environment, really. I'm sure they had some good fun after they squared the admin meeting away. So that then opens up the space to be able to have these conversations whilst both of you are then relaxed, rather than having the conversations when you're both rushing in and out and dealing with the kids or dealing with staff or whatever it is. You've got set space for that. So you can communicate without emotions coming into it. And then obviously, as you deal with each one of them step by step, what then happens? Well, you both become on the same page, which then means you deepen your connection, which then means you both feel happier, which then means it frees up space throughout the week. So, however you want to do this weekly admin meeting, my advice to you would be definitely to get some form of that in place. And if you choose to do this, then be really intentional about how you set the scene for this and how you communicate as well, because it could be the key to you having your business and your marriage. Your wife feels as though you're present, you're there, you're sharing. She also understands what's going on. You feel like, you can celebrate your wins with her. Everyone's needs are getting met or can get met in that instance. Now, done something similar with Erin. I do things similar with Amelia. We tend to do it over dinner from time to time and, go through various things. And it's just a great, great practice.
I agree. And it's inspiring. And it's one that, in my journey in my marriage is one that I would like to see grow better. So definitely on the path, my friend, as we all are. So Tim, in wrapping up here, what would you say if you were to give the men listening to this who are going, wow, I was in this state, my marriage or my business, what's the one takeaway that you would give them a call to action right now?
Apply for the activation method. Seriously, we've got an amazing program that is proven to work time and time again for the men that show up and do the work. It'd be a disservice of me to not blatantly promote it. So apply for the activation method. Go over to thepowerfulman.com/11. You'll see a short case study there from some of the men. And if that resonates with you, then book in a call. The call, depending on when you're listening to this, as of today, the call will be with me, yours truly. And we'll take 20 minutes to dive into where you are, where you want to be, and what you need to get there. And if at the end of it, we feel like it's something that we can help you with, I'll book in a second call with you and send you a training to watch in the meantime that will really bring a lot of understanding and awareness as to what needs to change and why you are where you are. So on the second call, we can talk about some solutions. But either way, just don't sit on the fence. There are two types of men in this world. Those guys that are going to listen to this podcast and stick a fork in the ground and be committed to taking action and changing their life. And, the other type of guy that's going to continue to sit on the sidelines and digest and digest and digest. And sometimes when they actually do get off the sidelines and into the game, it's too late. The ref's already blown his final whistle. So I know which one I prefer to be. I know which one I am. So just choose your camp wisely and go with it.
I love it. There you go, guys. Right from the man himself. All right, gentlemen, until next time, we will see you back on The Powerful Man Show.